Hello Kimmy's darlings. I thought I'd come on today to tell you a little bit more about Dolly and her first day at the new job. I'm actually sitting in the park down from where I live. I will slowly move you around back and forth while I tell you the story. As you know, Dolly had met for the first time her boss, as in the cook, Mrs. Doe. She had been made welcome in the kitchen with a hearty cup of tea. Jane, the kitchen maid, had let her in. As had said, Jane seemed a reasonable person and she hoped that they would get on and there would be no problem. After a while of sitting there, they decided it was time to show her the house. So up they got. As I had said, the lady and gentleman of the house was out and about, away for the weekend, so they had a chance to show her the house in private. The house wasn't overly huge, it was big enough, just nice, just enough for a few servants, nothing too big and nothing too auspicious, nothing over the top. As they went out first from the kitchen, they came across a room that was the room, as I had said, she would not probably go in, which was Mr. Doe's room, the butler. As you know, the butler was a fair man, but he could be tough if he needed to be, and tough he was at times, especially with some of the younger people that worked there who thought that they were there for a laugh and not to work. After they'd been there, they came across a room that looked quite comfortable but bare. And this was the room for the servants, where they had their eating place, where they had their talking place, their social place. This is where they had their dinner and their tea and their breakfast, just off the side of the kitchen. From here, they went up a flight of steps. When they get to the top of the flight of steps, it veered off up behind the stairwell and went out through a door into a large open hallway. The hallway had marquetry flooring. It was quite dark, darker than she expected it to be. In fact, it looked more manly than it looked like it had a feminine touch. Off of the hall, two sides of the hall from the front door, you could see there was two doors one side, two doors the next, and straight in front of you went upstairs, the double landing, one to the left, one to the right. First of all, they went and looked at what she assumed was a study or an office, and she was right. "This is his office," said Jane. "The master. This is his place. This is where he sits and does his work when he's home. 'Cause you know he's a judge, don't you?" she said. "Yes," said Dolly, quite calmly, even though she didn't really know what a judge was. She didn't want to look stupid in front of Jane, so she smiled and said, "Oh, of course, of course." The place was lovely. There was a large open fire, obviously at the moment just laid for a fire. It hadn't been lit, there was no need. Nobody was there, only the servants, so they spent all their time downstairs. They crossed the way and went into what was the dining room. A very long formal table stretched out, seating for 12, and if I push, a few more. There was some lovely crockery and cutlery all placed on the table ready for the next meal, presumably ready for when they came home, ready for the first breakfast after their visit away. There was also an open fire. That wasn't lit. The drapes were heavy and there was gaslight in the walls. There were some ornaments. In fact, it was quite full of ornaments. All the tapestry type coverings on the chairs were elaborate and beautiful, and she felt very jealous that she couldn't give something like that to her mother. The next room they went into was a ladies' room, a place where the ladies would withdraw to after dinner, maybe to do needlepoint or just to sit and chat, perhaps to talk about their men and what the men did, and of course their social work when they went out to help the poor. each of them vying to say that they were the best person to do charity work, that they did the most work for charity, not necessarily because they felt it was good, but because it looked good to be seen to be doing charity work. After a while, they looked around the room with its comfy chairs and its much smaller fireplace. It was more of a cosy nook type room, very feminine, lots of feminine touches, flowers, delicate ornaments, china, things like that, and small lamps on the table which could light if you really wanted to. A much nicer, friendlier place than the study or the dining room. The next room was the room where everybody sat. It was the room for the master, his wife and his son to entertain the family that came. It was well situated. The way it faced, there'd be sun most of the day. They had a large window, and the large window let in a great deal of light. This was the place where the child could play if he wanted to, but often didn't, as he much preferred to be upstairs in the nursery. Then they came back and they went up the stairs, first to the left, to the main room. This room was the largest bedroom in the house, and yes, of course, it was the husband's and wife's room. All the bedding was white, cotton, starched. Damn nuisance to iron, said Jane. Most of the other things in the room seemed to be plain, not what she expected of such a well-to-do family, but there was enough of everything and a hell of a lot more than she had ever had at home, in her home. There was, of course, the usual things, the bedside tables, and there was a pipe and some other bits and pieces there too, on one side. On the other side there was a poetry book and some what looked like handkerchiefs, but they were so dainty and wonderful she doubted if they really could be. The next room she came to was a guest room, quite shut up, not open at all, only opened apparently more in the summer when people come to visit, and the house then was full of laughter and talking and chatting and a lot of time spent being busy if you was a servant. After that they went into the young boy's bedroom. Beautiful room, bright, airy, bright colours, yellow on the wall. Even his bed linen was beautiful and bright, a real child's room. Soft toys everywhere, wooden toys everywhere. The whole place looked fantastic. You couldn't ask for anything better from a child's room. It was glorious. Oh, my brothers and sisters would think this was the best thing ever, she said. But I haven't got anything to offer them. Not yet, but maybe one day. Yeah, one day, Dolly thought for herself. The next room was the nursery. This was quite a nice room. Obviously, this was where he was taught as well, because there was an easel and a blackboard and a chair and a desk and a larger desk for his tutors. She then was led out to a set of stairs which were hidden, so you couldn't really see them very well, and they led up into what we call the eaves, where the servants' rooms were. There was 2 or 3, but they were well cordoned off, so boys and the girls weren't kept apart. There was no way any of the young stable lads or anyone like that was visiting, servant-wise, was going to get near the girls in the house. And that was how it was. She went into her room. There was a chest of drawers, there was a bed, in fact 2 beds, one for her and one for Jane. There was a small grate, which obviously had had a fire in the night before, and it had been laid, but it wasn't ready to light quite. It wasn't the end of their day, and one of them would pop up quickly and light it later. So now she's in the whole of the house. Will she be happy? Oh, I hope so. We'll be back to see Dolly another day. Take care, everyone. Take care. Bye.